Good morning, it's Valerie from Shalebrook Handcrafted Soap in Nova Scotia. Today I'm doing a video on Kombucha and Scoby hot process soap. And my husband and I have just started making kombucha in November of 2019 and I'm absolutely loving it. I used to purchase it. It really helped me with my stomach and we're so pleased with it. It tastes way better than kombucha that we purchased in grocery stores and things like that. And we've made all different kinds. And kombucha is made with a Scoby, which is a symbiotic symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. My husband is the one that actually is the expert on making the kombucha. But we do it together. I just don't have the technical language in me to figure that out. Anyway, it's a Scoby, and it provides probiotics, a tremendous amount of probiotics for your body, like sauerkraut or kimchi or things like that. But so we both love it. We do plain and all different kinds. So yesterday I actually did a Kombucha Scoby facial bar. I did a formula up with things that I thought were non-clogging of pores and really good for the face, and I was exceptionally pleased with it. I added Bacuri butter as a super fat in it as well, and they are scented faintly just with a bit of pomarosa and lavender. I should have left them unscented because it's just a gorgeous smell, but this is the color of those. Those are my facial bars. Just made them. So happy with it. And today I'm going to be making just a body bar with the Kombucha and Scoby. I wanted to show you actually, once you start making kombucha, and this isn't about, I'm not going to give a discourse on kombucha, but when you're making kombucha, you end up, the Scobies multiply, they feed off the tea, and kombucha is actually fermented tea loaded with probiotics. But so the Scoby grows and multiplies, and you can end up with a Scoby hotel. And we just emptied ours the other day, and I had a lot of Scobies. So I'm looking at utilizing those. And here's what, so then we kept some of the Scobies, and this is what our Scoby hotel looks like right now. I don't know if you can see that in there. How many Scobies? Yep. And you save most of the liquid off of there, and it's real strong, like vinegar. Actually, I must get that out of the fridge because I am using some of that today as well, and I'll show you what that looks like. Excuse me there. So I thought I'd be able to drink that off the Scoby Hotel, but so this is the vinegar, and it's actually like real strong vinegar. So that's kombucha vinegar is what I'm calling that. And I'll be mixing that up with my sugar and honey and lanolin. I'll be using some of that. The kombucha that I'm using, here's ours here. This is a ginger one. And I'll be using some ginger kombucha. And I'll be using some plain kombucha as well. It is absolutely delicious. I've already been drinking some this morning. Incredibly refreshing. And here's what a Scoby just right out of the hotel can look like. Woohoo! Look at that jellyfish. Anyway, I'm not going to touch it because you need to have used distilled vinegar, and so that you can not infect it with anything. But so the one I used was about this big. I cleaned everything off it. This would be sediment here that you can see. Sediment on it. So you clean that off. And underneath that, it's actually a lot lighter than that. It's a lot whiter. We've only been making kombucha with black tea so far, but we're going to make it with oolong and probably some green tea later on. But black tea is the best to make it with, that I understand. Okay, so I'm just going to pass that to my husband. Now the Scoby that I cut up, you can see is darker there. One thing I found with this is that you would think that that would blend real easy, but in all honesty, it's as tough to blend. So I ended up cutting it up, putting it in my blender and adding kombucha to it. So in this, to make it, you know, usable in my soap. So this is Scoby with kombucha and aloe vera juice in that. So that's what's going to be going into my soap. And I have actually kombucha, mulberry silk, and calendula tea in that. I'm not sure if you can see that. Don't want to pour it out on the floor. Ours is carbonated. You don't have to carbonate your kombucha, but ours is carbonated. So I let that set out overnight. It's pretty good, but I am going to, when I mix my lye with that, I am going to put it in a container on top of ice cubes in my sink because I don't want it to volcano out of the pot. Because it happened to me yesterday, even though I was aware of it. So I had to redo another one for the facial bar. So the formula today is, it has apricot kernel, which I also have infused with calendula. So calendula infused apricot kernel. I have castor, coconut, lard, palm, stearic acid, and beef tallow. And there's going to be honey and lanolin in it, yogurt and coconut milk as well. And I'm not still sure if I'm going to scent this or not. I'm thinking I'm not going to scent it. And I'm going to super fat it with apricot kernel oil, camellia seed oil, argan, capuchu butter. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And Bacuri butter. And this is how dark that Bacuri butter is. But it's actually one of my new favorite butters. I love the smell of it, the feel of it. I actually put it on my face directly. You do have to be careful of staining. Yeah, so, and that will help to give it a nice color as well. And then I'm planning on putting some of these soap gratings in it too. So what I'm hoping is I can get a similar color to this with some soap gratings. And these soap gratings are from a real dark stout that has malt in it, and like a black stout I used. So these actually smell like butterscotch. Yeah, so that soap actually was called butterscotch malt. That I'm all sold out of that now. So I'm going to add some of those gratings, and I'll be hopefully being able to pour these into a silicone mold that I heat up in my oven, an individual oval mold. So that's my introduction. Here's what my super fat looks like with the Bacuri and the capuchu butter. And so what I'm going to do is, that was just an introduction. One of the things I know I'm going to be asked is, what does kombucha and the Scoby bring to the soap? And that's a really good question. I don't have a perfect answer for that. I only know there's not a lot on it that I could find, and probiotics will not make it through the lye, but it does have, it's loaded with vitamin C. And I read that somebody who makes kombucha soap, they had it tested, and the nutrients from the kombucha, it looks like it's making it through that. So that's all I can tell you. I don't know that, that's just what I read. But I also read that it's a really lovely, it rinses clean, whatever that means, I'm not sure, but that's what this person said. And it's a very skin softening, moisturizing thing. And actually you can use kombucha directly on your face as a skin softener. What else do I know? But let me see, loaded with vitamin C. Oh yeah, it can be used actually as a very, very mild exfoliant. Don't know. And why not? I've got all kinds of it. It's extra, it's beautiful, it's good. Why not use it? There's so many things in God's creation that you can use that are just fabulous. So why not use what you can and experiment and have fun doing it, and always make great for the skin soap, which for me is low drying, high conditioning. So thank you for joining me, and I'll bring you back once I got the lye added and my oils are heated and we go to mix it together. Bye-bye. One thing I wanted to mention to you was to make sure you wear safety glasses make sure you wear gloves and just be careful around the lye. It's important to know lye safety when you start to make soap. One of the most important things to learn, how to handle lye and to look after it. One thing I wanted to tell you that I forgot to tell you was this is the 3-pound batch. I'm doing it at a 37% lye liquid. I'm going to try it anyway. It's got stearic acid in it, so this will probably cook quite fast. My crock pot is on low. The temperature of the oil right now is about 175, and my lye liquid is about 163. This is my Scoby, and I warmed it up. And I was debating whether to add it after the lye or add it before the lye liquid. I think I'm going to add it before the lye liquid because of the stearic and the heat. This is going to solidify pretty fast, or I think it will. The other thing I wanted to tell you was I didn't show how I added the lye to this liquid, but if you want to see how I do that, you can check out the butterscotch malt video using dark stout, and I show how I did that because of the carbonation and alcoholic content. But this, I was concerned about the carbonation content. So I had the sink full of ice cubes, and I had my pitcher in a steel bowl that was setting on top of the ice cubes, and I added the liquid bit by bit. So you can see how dark that is in there. And that's got, it was full of mulberry silk as well. And I just added it bit by bit, and it did get really, really hot and a tiny bit of foam, but there was no volcanic eruption from it. And possibly the ice cubes help with that as well. So I just wanted to tell you that. So I'm just going to add my Scoby into this and stick blend before I put that lye in. Before I put the lye mixture in. And that Scoby mixture of Kombucha and Scoby was warmed up. Wow, that turned it pretty white. So I'm not going to show the entire video of this hot process soap. I'm just going to bring you back in stages. And right now I'm going to add this lye mixture. Add it slowly. And I'm just going to scrape that out a bit. Sorry about that. I was probably blocking you. And then I'm going to bring this to thick trace, but we'll see how that color changes. It's a real pretty color, like a caramel. Okay, so you can see we're coming to a real thick trace already. That's so beautiful with that silk on there. And I'm going to cover this over. We're cooking on low, and I'll bring you back the next stage. So I brought you back because I wanted to show you that this is starting to rise up. Volcano. I wanted to also show you that I use a spray bottle. And I'm actually going to push that down before it pops out of that pot. But if you have a fine mist spray bottle like this, heat it, not heat it, but with warm hot water, it can really help to control that volcano. It also can help so that that doesn't get it doesn't get dry pieces of soap on there. It's always worked for me. So you can see that this is, now we're coming to applesauce stage right there. And because it's called applesauce stage simply because it looks exactly like applesauce. I'm just taking a picture of that. And the next stage from this stage would be potato stage. And I just wanted to show you that. So I'll bring you back. Well, actually, one thing I'm going to do with this, I'm going to give this a stick blend to mix up that little bit of uncooked batter there. And I'll bring you back at potato stage. So, whoops. Okay, that was just a whisk, no worries. Wanted you to bring you back to show that this is still, it's still rising up. It's still cooking. But we're almost at potato stage there. You don't have to worry about this not cooking through to Vaseline when it's on warm and it's at those temperatures. This will go through to Vaseline. And when you're doing hot process, once you hit, you mix your lion oils and you bring it to thick trace, and you're even at, like, say 145 temperatures, Fahrenheit temperatures, you can cook on low and it will go through those stages. Sometimes, depending on your batter, it might skip a couple stages, but normally 95% of the time it's going to go through these stages, and you always want it to get to Vaseline stage. So I'm looking at this right now, and I would definitely say that is potato stage. Hopefully you can see that. I actually think some of that is thick Vaseline as well. So you can see that there. Potato stage. What I'm going to do right now is shut that camera off. And I'm just going to let this set. Probably to be like 1-2 minutes and we'll be at Vaseline stage, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so I got off the last time when I said I'll bring it back when it's Vaseline, and I put some on a spoon and I did a tongue zap, and there was absolutely no lye left. So that cooked extremely fast. And even though I do have the Stearic, I'm pleased with the formula to cook that fast. So you can see now that, ouch, be careful of the rim on your crock pot because that can burn you. Anyway, there's the, you can see that that's Vaseline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of sugar that's mixed with kombucha vinegar. There was something I wanted to tell you when I come back. Oh yeah, it was when I, and my crock pot is on low right now. Well, you can still see that's incredibly hot. Wow. Okay, so I turned that off, but it's still real hot. One of the things I've read from one person's kombucha soap page was that she said it had a medicinal smell. Now, when I made my facial bars yesterday, because I read that on her site, I added 0.1 lavender and 0.1 Pomarosa to a 1 pound batch, and I'm actually disappointed I did that. Now, Pomarosa and lavender are fantastic for your skin and your face, but my point is that my batter did not smell medicinal at all. It smelled real sweet and just a lovely, beautiful smell. Now that will depend on your formula, and it will depend on your superfat for sure, and your other additives, but I was disappointed I did that. So today, what I did was, because this is my superfat hair of that Bacuri butter, Kapachua butter, camellia seed oil, apricot kernel oil, and argan. I added 0.2 benzoin, which has a vanilla type of scent, and very minute amount for 3 pounds. And you can smell it, but I'm not sure if you will smell that in the soap. And to me personally, that scent will complement the smell of this batter, because this batter smells good already. So I'm just going to stir this in. I'm going to spray it with some fine mist, and I'm going to let it set because it's really hot. And when I go to add my yogurt, sodium lactate, and coconut milk, I will bring you back. I'm going to be adding my yogurt now. I normally always add 3 tablespoons of yogurt. Sorry, 1 tablespoon of yogurt per pound of soap. So this is 3 tablespoons of yogurt. And when you're adding yogurt, I always add mine room temperature, or you can add it cooler to the fridge, but I prefer room temperature so it doesn't shock that batter too much. The other thing with adding yogurt is you want to constantly stir that in until it's completely distributed and mixed up in your batter. It saves it from cooking when your batter is hot. If the yogurt cooks, you will get rubbery pieces of yogurt. I know because I've done it. So just to help you out there, just make sure that you stir it into your batter really well. And I just wanted you to know that this has a very lovely, natural smell, but with just a slight hint of vanilla you might be able to smell. I'm not sure if I would even say it's vanilla, but just a really, this is my sodium lactate I'm adding. It's 5% of my total oil amount. And I add it warmed up. There's many ways to add these things. Please feel free to try them out. I certainly have experimented adding it different ways, but in hot process, right now, this is how I add it. I might change that if I find something better. I add sodium lactate because it helps to harden the soap, but it has really great benefits for the skin as well. It is really good for aging skin, like mine, but it's also a great humectant, so it's really good that way. It's a natural derivative of beets and corn. You can get it, so. And I think I might have a tiny problem with this batter. It's real thick, but we'll see. I've saved 2 ounces of coconut to add after the cook. So I'm just gonna actually test my coconut now to see. I like to add it hot to see if that's hot. And that's nice and hot, so I'm going to add that now too. Now, coconut milk, you want to make sure that you stir that up really well. I've had it cook on the bottom of my crock before because I didn't get it stirred up good enough, and the crock pot was heated on the bottom. So even though it's not, the heat's not turned on right now, I do want to make sure that I get that stirred in really well. So this was 2 ounces saved back from the total amount of liquid in this formula. I love coconut milk. This one is purchased, but I like making my own as well. I do have a video on that actually. I had been asked how to make jasmine rice milk, so I did a video on making milks. And this batter is very hot, so you want to be careful too with that. And I'll bring you back. I'm just going to wait until the temperature gets down around 170 to add my honey, and I'll bring you back then. So the temperature of that batter is 163 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to add my, sorry, I'm just over here getting my gratings ready to add this. So I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 teaspoons of lanolin, 1.5 teaspoons of vitamin E, 2 tablespoons of calendula tea, and 2 tablespoons of pureed Scoby. And this is warm. I warmed it up in hot water in a frying pan on the stove. That's usually how I keep all my additives warmed up. So I wanted to show you that this is it's like a shower cap, but you can buy these in the US. I believe you can buy these at Walmart.
I've just ordered another box. I had a lady, Laura Elliott, send me these a couple years ago, a year ago, and trying to get away from one-time plastic. So I cover these up. It helps keep the soap moist. And can you see in there? Yep, you can see that. So it's real thick, and now I'm going to add this. I really like lanolin in soap. I don't put it in all my soaps, but it does give it a really nice feel, and it boosts lather. Really good for you, as long as you're not allergic to it. It's a beautiful color. It's going to be lighter than my facial bars, I believe, just because of the different super fats I added. And I meant to tell you earlier that Scoby, the Scoby of the kombucha, you can eat that. You can fry it, you can grind it up, put it in smoothies. My husband doesn't like that, but even when you bottle it, you can get little Scobies in your bottles. And I had a blueberry kombucha the other day, and I actually like the Scobies in those. When I took it out of the fridge, Scoby, I drank out of the bottle, and the Scoby came in my mouth, and I chewed it, and it burst it with this beautiful blueberry kombucha. All right, the other thing I wanted to tell you was I'm going to hopefully put these into heated silicone individual oval molds that were in the oven at 170 Fahrenheit. So I just wanted to show you that, and I'm going to bring you back when I add the gratings and I go to put these in the molds. So now I'm going to, these are the gratings. This was an entire bar of soap, and I've sprayed some water on top. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it all, because it's a lot. But we'll see how it goes when I stir these in. I'll probably wish I haven't done this. Either way, it's going to be a beautiful bar of soap. So I think I'll just add a bit more. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to put that whole thing in and pay the price. We'll see if it doesn't turn out. This will definitely make that batter quite thick. My husband's chuckling at me. Dig that stuff up from the bottom. All right. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this actually, but I got to zoom out and I'll bring the mold over and I'll see. I might just get something to scoop it out. So can you? So I just brought these out of the oven. And I got a scoop heated up that I'm going to try and use, but this is going to be tricky because it's going to harden pretty fast. So that's one thing about doing things like this. If you have a batter that's thick, but you can only do the best you can do. And the most important thing is to make sure that you have a good soap. See, this is tricky. So you'll see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to post this video and I'll show you cuts, not cuts obviously, but I'm going to show you what the soap looked like in pictures. I'll probably do a lather test too to show you that. So thank you for joining me for Kombucha Scoby soap. This is the puck from the Kombucha Scoby soap I just made, and I just wanted to show you how that lathers up. This batter got hard real fast, and I'm not sure if that's from the Kombucha and Scoby or what, but I am loving how this feels. As you can tell, you get those big bubbles, and then immediately you get that go to lather. And I would definitely recommend this soap using Scoby and kombucha, especially if you got homemade. Just look at that.
That's gorgeous. Thank you for stopping by today.